Welcome to Chop Shop Motors. My name is Clay, and we're going to do a little bit of work tonight on the front bumper for the 30-day truck challenge. So it's been kind of a long week. It's a little bit late out here. I'll see if I can make a little bit of noise before it gets too late, and I'm gonna film some of it. And we've got a really ragged front bumper that I only saved it because it was good enough to have sent into a chrome shop and have it replated, but anymore it's really hard to find a chrome shop that'll do that kind of work, that'll straighten them and replate them and not have it be $600. So I didn't use it for that, but for this truck I'm gonna put it in the press and see if I can straighten it out a little bit. It's got some big honking bumper guards welded to it, so we're going to cut those off and we'll see if we can make this bumper a little more usable and maybe not be quite as hideous as it is. And it fits the theme of saving the stuff from the scrapper, but it is a pretty marginal piece. So we'll see if we make enough headway that it at least it'll be a front bumper on the truck, and I can keep my eye open for a better scrappy bumper. But I mean, this really does fit the theme. So come along with me and I'll show you this crappy bumper. So when I said this bumper was crappy, I wasn't kidding. As you can see right here, there's a big piece of channel welded to it. You come across over here, the lower bracket is mangled, the lower portion of the bumper is ripped, and then it has a fair amount of bends and waves in it. So pull it up a little bit. You can really get a view for kind of how crappy it is. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this channel off here, off of both sides, and see what we have then. So let me put you in the tripod here and we'll do some cutting. not quite yet. Get another disc. Okay, there's one off. Let me cut the other one off and then we'll put it in the press. Here's the bumper after we took some of the crap off of it. So the inside still yet to be messed with. We'll do that next. I'll flip it over here and you can see at least the outside has the big gnarly pieces cut off of it. And the license plate's removed. This end over here is not horrible. It at least kind of still looks like a Ford truck bumper as you kind of look down it. You can see it still has more or less some of its shape. Until we get to the end there. The middle has a whoop in it, but you know, it's got whoops all over. So we'll see what we can do. We'll start at that other end and see if we can start to get the big pieces out. So let me take it into the press. We're going to see if we can get any of this piece out here in the front to start to go back in shape. Okay, the one thing I don't have is a big hammer. So let me get a big hammer. I'm probably going to have to put some heat on this to get it to do what I need it to do. I tried to buy a rosebud today, but someone else wanted it more than I did, so I didn't get it. Would have been nice to have that for the torch. And I'm just kind of messing with it, seeing where it wants to come back. See if it wants to come back. I mean, it's pretty bent. And it's pretty heavy duty. So we got a couple things that aren't exactly working in our favor. So we'll just kind of keep messing with it. We'll pull this loose. And we'll see if we can start to get maybe some of this curve right here out of it. It's going to be the part that's holding it. That's holding it kind of, you know, it's a strong piece. This piece right here is meant to hold its configuration, and that's exactly what it's doing. So let's see, how could we do that? It's a bent up piece, that's for sure. Well, let's see what happens when we start to just push a little bit here. pretty sure it's gonna pop that out. It's not too happy there, but we'll see. We're not in any place of danger, so. Scared you, didn't it? This lower piece is actually welded to the bumper on that side where it had been ripped. So actually heating it up might not be a bad idea. I'm not going to heat it up right where it's at. And the reason is because it's actually right next to the solvent tank. There's no heating it up right here. Actually distorting the whole press. I had that piece wedged in there, and it was actually causing the whole press to go crooked. So that wasn't very good. I think it actually bent it. Think about this and come back to you. This is how far I got tonight. I straightened out. I worked on both ends a bunch. This end still has a pretty good split here, but if you look at the back, it is at least starting, that lower frame mount is at least starting to have a contour that's similar to what it sort of could have had. The lower, or the right side one, is in the ballpark. Both were pretty mangled. Right side was more mangled than I thought it was when I first started. But I mean, you know, it was scrap. So I think what I'll do tomorrow is, if it will get close enough to bolt to the truck, what I might do is see if I can bolt it on and then use the floor jack and some bigger bars to manipulate it a little bit until I get it where it's where it needs to be to weld it up. Again, this isn't, I'm not looking for perfection, but I don't want it to look like too much of a snaggletooth. So we're a step closer. I probably spent, I don't know, I probably spent an hour on it. I didn't film it because it would have been tedious. You guys would have all been asleep watching me move back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I will pick it up tomorrow after I bolt it on the truck if that looks like it'll work. The front frame horns on that truck are nice and straight, so it's a good starting point. But I mean, honestly, this bumper is anything but nice and straight, so it might be a fight just to get it even on there enough to mess with it. So that's it for now. I will bring you back after I play with it a little more. Here's what it looks like on the truck. It's the next morning. I came out, set it up on there. It is at least starting to take the shape that will fit on the frame horns. Where we have an issue is if you look down it, see, I'm not sure you can be able to see this. I can't really see it in the viewfinder, but it's probably hit something in the middle of the bumper, and I tried to pull it out a little bit, but I think I'm actually going to press it back straight here. So this is straighter, and I'm going to cut it here and pull the sides in, and cut it here and pull the sides in, and bring it so that center part comes out a little bit. It's not going to be perfect by any means. I don't have the kind of press that bumper shop would use to bang and shrink the metal, so we have to cut it. But I think we can cut it there, make it so that the pieces that hang out the side are closer to what they should be, and get a little step closer. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. I've already probably spent more than I should, but let me make a couple cuts and see if I can get it to fit the truck just a little bit closer before we weld up the tears. Okay, let me do some cutting. So I cut on it. I pulled the sides in. As you can see, I put a cut here, and I think you can see that. Hope you can see that. Yeah, you should be able to. Put a cut there and pulled that side in. I put a cut in on this side, pulled this side in over here, helped a bunch. Then I took it to the anvil and spent about 20 minutes beating it back into submission and getting the shape close to what it was. Now what I'm going to do, it's got a twist in it, but I think as I bolt it together, that twist will go, it'll pull that twist out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind all the areas that I need to weld and weld those up. It's got a rip that I fixed, that I made so it would fit back together. Got a horrible rip on the bottom, which I'll do some work on and clamp that to pull it back together. Should be functional. So let me weld it up and grind it, and then we'll put it on and see kind of how it looks as a pseudo finished product. Well, we welded up our cuts. We did it there. We did it over here. We welded up our tears over here, and they're definitely not beautiful. We got some welds here that we've filled in. Got some here. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and take the grinder to it and grind them off, make it look, you know, smooth from the outside, and then we'll go and try bolting on and see how much grief we run into. I also welded up a couple of the extra holes on the top that had some fog lights in it in different places. They weren't symmetrical, so just thought while I had the welder out, I'd go ahead
fill those up. Not that it probably makes a huge amount of difference on this project, but it seemed like the right thing to do. Here it is, ready for a little bit of, I'll put some paint on it just where the welds are and stuff, just to kind of keep it from rusting, although the rest of it's rusty. You know, it's always a little bit of a challenge to figure out, you know, when you paint it, when you're not painting it, when you're not painting too much of anything. But I want it to at least not have big, ugly, gnarly grind marks that are visible. We'll primer it, and that should kind of fix that. So overall, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, at least on the sawhorses, considering what I started with. And probably a waste of a couple hours, but time is gone now. So let me throw a little paint on it, grab something to eat, and then I'll toss it on the truck. Here's the truck with the bumper installed. So I touched up the areas that I ground on. I basically, it actually bolted on way easier than I expected it to. I think probably some of the reason is that the front frame horns on this truck, both of these frames, this truck and the next project truck next to it, have really nice frame horns. Oftentimes the front frame horns on these trucks get a lot of misuse and abuse, and so it kind of compromises being able to even bolt a straight bumper on. This wasn't that problem, but it allowed us to cut and modify and bend and tweak and get it to fit the original frame holes, and when we're all done, it worked out pretty good. I did a little twist of it once it was on with that big Mamba pipe wrench just to get the ends similar, and you know, it really is just continuing to massage on it. I spent way more time on this old heap of a bumper than I probably needed to or should have for this project. I should have been working on other pieces, but it felt like a good diversion. Bumper was laying off this side. I want to get it out of the way, so it's one less thing that's in the way. It's on the truck. The truck's one step closer to looking complete. So there you have it. So just finished up putting the front bumper on the truck project. Thanks for following along as I took this old mangled bumper and spent you know, way more time on it than than it deserved, and way more than it should have. I probably should have been working on some other stuff like getting the bed on and things of that nature, but it felt like just the right size project last night and then this morning to keep me moving on it. So the bumper is on. It looks more or less like a bumper. It kind of fits the rest of the truck. I think it's gonna look just like it was, just like it grew there. Nobody's gonna pull up to me and ask if that was a new old stock bumper, so I don't have to worry about that. So I will never have to feel that question around this truck. But it looks like a bumper, and we saved it from the scrap pile. It's what I had. I didn't have to buy one. I'm trying not to buy any more than I have to, although you know, I've had to buy a few things for it, and a number of things, and that's all good. The next piece that we're going to attack will more than likely be either the running boards I have are pretty crusty. One was super mangled, and I straightened it out similar to the bumper. I mean, it looks like a running board. It's kind of shaped like a running board, but it's you know, it's not super cherry. So I think I'm going to take a wire wheel to it. It's all rusty, both the running boards. One came from the project truck, and another one came from a pile of parts I bought to where I got some of the hoods, and none of that stuff was too cherry, and I knew I had the one running board that was on the project truck that wasn't very nice, and so I didn't have a mate to it. So I bought a running board that's you know, about the same condition. And so those two will go on this truck. And I'm going to take a wire wheel to them and just put some black on them just so they don't rust. I'm not trying to make any illusion that this is anything but kind of as found, but I don't really want it rusting more. I know people love that look. It's just not quite my look. So yeah, they don't have any paint on them, so I'll put some paint on them just to keep them preserved. And ultimately, you know, when this truck gets all put together, what I'd like to do is actually put it in, you know, a flat or semi-flat mountain green. So I'm not going to do any body, well, I'll do a little bit of body work. I got to fix a couple rough spots on the cab. That's not going to happen as part of this build, but that's probably, you know, down the road a little bit after I do a couple other projects that are slated. And so that's my thinking. So I'm not planning on leaving it just like it is forever like this, but I'm not planning on painting it before we call this project done for this build series. So that's where we left off. If I have some more time, I've got some other duties that need to happen today. If I have some more time today, I might just work on the bed a little bit and get it a step closer. And then I'll see if I can con Shelby into helping me get it closer to the truck and on. So if you like this, please like, share, subscribe. We love you watching the videos. We're excited to see this come to an end. We're actually getting pretty close. I put the ignition switch in that I got, and I put some other pieces in, little trinkets as I get them, just to keep getting it closer. So who knows, we might be getting kind of close here. Even though it doesn't look like it, it's actually getting pretty close. So hit the subscribe button, and if you like this kind of stuff, we're always doing these things. I'm Clay for Chop Shop Motors, and we'll see you on the next